heavyweights, but Ciryl Gane in his DNA is a gigantic, bona fide, legit heavyweight that just so happens to be very, very light on the feet, incredibly fast, can move around, you know, all over the place, shaking and baking, jigging and jiving, moving and grooving, whatever else you want to say, right? Yeah. I think that's a big advantage in this fight here.
Yeah, that's the thing. He kicks so well too. He's not just a guy that's going to be some lumbering heavyweight. I think there's a lot of heavyweights on the roster that Pereira would hands down easily just go out there and KO to death, no problem. This one is a challenge, and I think that's what entices him, whether it was going to be Jones or whether it's going to be Ciryl Gane. You're going for that third belt. If he gets it, you are a legit. And where do we go from here? If he wins that friggin' belt.
And so Alex Pereira, not ever having to worry about that weight cut again, which has burdened him his entire life through his kickboxing career, through his time at 185, which he finally said, I'm not doing it anymore. His time at 205, it's not the same spot. Alex can still make 205. I'm just sharing, like, this is a very different Alex Pereira. I have watched this guy train a lot. He is disciplined. He works hard. He does not miss practice. He's the first guy there. He's the last one to leave. Like, one of these things, the things that you would expect from a champion, but he's always had to fight two battles. He's had to get ready to fight the guy that's going to be standing across from him, and he's got to fight the scale. He doesn't have to fight the scale anymore. I not only predict for you that we're going to see a successful, awesome Alex Pereira, I submit for you, you're going to see the best version of Alex Pereira, and I think that's a very...
I can see Gane eye-poking Pereira and Pereira doing, you know, the Jamal Hill thing where he calls off the ref and then sleep Ciryl Gane on the White House card.
Alex Pereira's opportunity to become a 3-time world champ against Ciryl Gane.
Ciryl Gane, people are talking about this. The infinite title shot glitch. He's back again.
I don't know. Hey, Ciryl Gane looked good in that fight against Tom. Ciryl's going to be hard to knock out in the first round because he does stick and move. He's not going to sit there and trade with Pereira. He's going to jab. He's going to move. He bounces around, like you said, a light guy. It's going to be interesting.
I agree. I think it's going to be hard for him early on. I think he's going to lose like the first round, maybe the second, and then settle in. But I'm excited, man. It's going to be a good fight.
Dude, and those two fights, 5-round fights, and people are just complaining so heavy about this White House card.
Gane versus
Pereira is officially happening. And honestly, the fight has people completely split right down the middle. Some folks are convinced that Pereira just walks him down with that terrifying pressure and gets him out of there early, probably in devastating fashion. Others feel like Gane's movement and elusiveness are going to make it messy and hard to deal with, turning it into a puzzle that Pereira might not solve. There isn't a clear, obvious answer here, and that's exactly what makes it so much fun to talk about and analyze. You've got raw knockout power on one side, the kind that can end a fight in a heartbeat, and then speed, footwork, and technical control on the other. So let's really dig into what different people across the MMA world are saying about this fascinating Pereira versus Gane matchup.
I don't think he gets past Ciryl Gane. I think that weight is real. Could he 100%, in particular in that division. But nobody has really finished Ciryl Gane, and his movements is very problematic. Pereira also does get hit Kamaru. Now, can you take a heavyweight's punch? Now you're talking about Francis Ngannou power? A real big heavyweight?
You are right, Henry. Ciryl Gane is no slouch. When he was fighting Tom Aspinall, we saw how that fight was starting to look. But listen, I think this is a fantastic fight. I'm not counting anyone out here. I'm not counting Alex Pereira out here because Alex Pereira does have the power to really change things. We felt this way when Alex Pereira said he was wanting to go to light heavyweight. Now he dominated that weight class.
Michael Bisping's main point when breaking down this fight is pretty clear and honestly kind of surprising to some people. He thinks this matchup with Ciryl Gane is actually more interesting and compelling than the Jon Jones fight that people were constantly asking for and hyping up. Not because Jones wouldn't be a big moment or a massive pay-per-view draw, but because that fight would likely turn into a grappling match that doesn't play to Pereira's strengths at all. He keeps circling back to the same idea over and over that someone like Jones, with his elite wrestling pedigree and fight IQ, would just take Pereira down, wrestle him, slow the whole pace down, and completely take away the striking exchanges where Pereira is most dangerous. Here with Gane as the opponent, that problem isn't really there in the same way. With Gane, the fight stays on the feet a lot more consistently, which gives Pereira real legitimate chances to land something big and change the fight in a split second with that left hand or a body kick.
Ciryl Gane, Alex Pereira, interim heavyweight title. Right? I thought it was going to be Jones and Ciryl. It's not. Okay. Yeah. I still think it's a tremendous fight. I think in some ways it's a better fight. We said this on the post-fight show. I said it on the YouTube video, and people were like, oh yeah, you would say that, company man. No, listen, Jones, it would be a spectacle, and it would be great to see Pereira versus Jones. Of course it would. But in terms of, you all just shit, and everyone's been shitting on Charles Oliveira taking down Max Holloway. Do you not think John Jones would take down Alex Pereira? Of course, that would be the strategy. I'm not saying Pereira can't stop a takedown, but that's what he's going to try and do, because on the feet, Pereira could very well knock him out. But Ciryl Gane and Alex Pereira, they're going to put on one hell of a display.
He also leans really hard into the size and movement difference, and he's not ignoring Pereira's power at all when he talks about it. He still believes wholeheartedly that Pereira can knock out heavyweights and that his power will translate up, but he keeps stressing over and over that Gane is a natural heavyweight who's been competing at this weight his entire UFC career. Not just big in terms of height and frame, but comfortable and fluid at that weight class. He moves fast for a heavyweight, he's incredibly light on his feet, and he uses distance really well. And that's exactly where Bisping sees the edge for Gane in this matchup. Pereira moving up sounds good on paper and gets people excited, but when you actually break it down from a technical and physical standpoint, you're adding weight to your frame, maybe losing a bit of speed and explosiveness in the process, and facing someone who's already built for that division and knows how to use his size effectively.
Great point. You know, we have weight classes for a reason. There's also a reason why no one's become a 3-weight division champion.
Yeah, it's
he
so
couldn't
hard.
make 185 by almost killing himself. Now he's going up to heavy, where it's not, I mean, naturally he walks around as a heavyweight, but he's not naturally a heavyweight fighter. So
Yeah.
what will happen? He'll be heavier, which will slow you down a bit. He will have, I think, extra power. I still think he can take the shots. I think he's still got the power to knock out heavyweights. But Ciryl Gane, in his DNA, is a gigantic, bona fide, legit heavyweight that just so happens to be very, very light on the feet, incredibly fast, can move around, you know, all over the place, shaking and baking, jigging and jiving, moving and grooving, whatever else you want to say, right?
Yeah.
I think that's a big advantage in this fight.
Paul
Felder is basically on the same page as Bisping about the fight being more competitive than people might think, but he explains it a bit differently and focuses on different aspects. He focuses more on how the fight plays out minute to minute and round by round, rather than just looking at the big picture. His thinking is that against someone like John Jones, Pereira would spend a lot of time either defending takedowns or stuck on the ground, waiting for the referee to stand them up or waiting for moments to explode back to his feet. That wrestling and grappling aspect would limit him severely and take away his best weapons. With Gane, that whole layer of the fight basically disappears. So now it becomes a striking fight almost the entire time, which is exactly where Pereira wants to be and where he's most comfortable.
Yeah, no, I think you're right with that. That it's definitely going to be a much more competitive, much more exciting affair. Whereas even if Pereira had success against John Jones, you're right, a lot of that time would be spent at some point defending some sort of takedown or not defending the takedowns and getting taken down, waiting for his opportunity in the next round to be able to strike. This is going to be a big boys kickboxing in there. We saw how good Ciryl Gane looked when he was fighting Tom Aspinall before the eye pokes. He was landing good shots. He's athletic. He can move. These are two heavyweights that can move and can strike. It's going to be a banging ass fight.
When it comes to the odds and the matchup itself, Felder keeps it really realistic and doesn't try to hype one side too much. He doesn't dismiss Pereira's chances at all, but he points out that the jump from middleweight to heavyweight is a legitimately big deal that people might be underestimating. Not just physically in terms of size and strength, but in terms of what you're dealing with in terms of power and durability. Heavyweights hit hard every single fight and can change everything with one shot. And Gane is already used to that level of power and has been living in that environment his whole career. Pereira might carry his legendary knockout power up with him, but Gane has been absorbing shots from massive heavyweights and knows what that feels like. So the adjustment might be tougher than people expect for Pereira.